So picking a class to main in an arena is pretty difficult since it's such a big commitment. You have to do so much just to be able to play the game at a high level that you really want to make sure that you're picking the right class. So to make that decision a little bit easier, I want to make a video on the best classes to main in 9.1.5. Now my criteria for this isn't just picking the best classes in the meta, even though they do tend to overlap quite a bit. It's picking the classes that you will have the most success playing. So for example, is the class really strong right now? How many comps can it play? Do people like playing with the class? And is it fun to play? Since the most important thing in picking up a new class is actually being able to play the game. If you're playing a class that is pretty good, but people don't really like playing with it because most people are pretty bad at it and it doesn't really do too well, something like Demon Hunter, at least in the past. Right now it's actually pretty strong. But in the past, Demon Hunter was actually pretty good, but no one really wanted to play with it because a lot of times you play with it and they just die in a stun instantly. Even though Demon Hunter is pretty good and it has a ton of comps that it can play at a pretty high level, you probably wouldn't have wanted to main it back then. But the opposite for that is something like a sub rogue. If you're playing one of the two comps that it's really good in, everyone wants you. Your class is perfect for them. Rogue Mage is an insanely good comp, but the only problem is you can only really play when you have a mage and a priest to play with. But if you find those, you will always have Qs. So it's kind of the exact opposite of Demon Hunter. So what you're trying to find is kind of in the middle of those. You're trying to find a class that is really good, has a lot of comps to play, and people want to play with it. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the 5 best classes to main. Number 1, I'm sure anyone who's actually been playing this season at all, or even this expansion, has already guessed it. It's Arms Warrior. Arms Warrior is the best class in the game. Its kit is insane, it does amazing damage, and has pretty good mobility too. Also, it has multiple top tier comps and can play with just about any spec in the game. Here's a list of its top tier comps. And here are the other comps it can still play. There are a ton. Being one of the best and most versatile specs in the game, everyone wants one on their team. You can apply to just about any group and you will be invited. And it's fun to play. There's not really much else to say. If you want to play a melee class in 9.1.5, you should definitely play Arms Warrior. Number 2, Fire Mage. Fire Mage is probably the best caster in the game. Mages have always been amazing, and even though they're probably weaker than they've ever been, they are still one of the best classes in the game. There's a few S tier comps and quite a few other comps that still work. It's pretty much the caster equivalent of Arms Warrior. It can play with pretty much any other class in the game. Here's a list of its top tier comps, and here are the rest of the comps that can still work. Just like Arms Warrior, you can pretty much apply to any group in the game and they will invite you. And the best part is, it works with an Arms Warrior, the best class in the game. Now, the only problem with Fire Mage is I really wouldn't consider it the most fun right now. However, it can be pretty satisfying being able to control an entire team pretty much by yourself and also having the burst to solo kill someone. Number 3, Windwalker Monk. Now, Windwalker Monks are an interesting class. They're either the best class in the game or the worst. There's almost never a middle ground for them. Currently, however, they're definitely one of the best classes in the game. It probably has the highest burst potential out of every class, being able to one-shot someone in less than a second. It has incredible mobility and has pretty good defensives. As for its comp, I really wouldn't say it has an S tier comp, because there aren't really any Windwalker Monk comps that just are like, wow, this comp is broken. Most of the comps are A tier, but then they feel like they're S tier because there's a Windwalker on your team. Here are their best comps, and here are the other comps that still work. They won't have as easy a time finding people as compared to an Arms Warrior, but you still really shouldn't have too many problems. The biggest plus in playing Windwalker is that it's probably one of the most fun classes in the game. Your kit is just so fun to play with. The only limiting factor is only having a single stun and it being on a minute cooldown. However, that works perfectly fine for Windwalker since that's the same CD as their burst. I definitely recommend playing Windwalker. If I was making a list of the most fun classes to play, I would definitely have Windwalker as number 1. Number 4, Shadow Priest. This season, Shadow Priest has risen in viability like no other class. The swap to Necrolord has transformed this class into an immortal god that does infinite damage. They're in an amazing place right now and have a ton of top tier comps. Here's a list of their top tier comps, and here are the viable comps. I personally love playing with Shadow Priest on every class I play. Even if the comp isn't top tier, the stun silence combo just opens up so many kill opportunities, it's kind of insane. Its only problem is it's miserable being trained by double melee without having another caster on your team, but overall, I'd still say it's pretty fun to play. Number 5, Rep Paladin. This is the first expansion ever that I would actually recommend someone playing a Rep Paladin. And the worst part is, this is probably my least favorite iteration of Rep Paladin with the whole lottery feel of the class right now. But the class is really good. It may not have the most comps to play, but Ret Warrior is insane. Warrior utility combined with Ret's insane burst is just a match made in heaven. Now for comps, they only really have one top tier comp, but they do have quite a few decent comps that you can still do pretty well on. Here are the top tier comps, and here are the playable ones. Ret is incredibly powerful with insane burst and amazing utility. Its only downside is it dies pretty quickly without team utility, and it also doesn't have the best mobility. However, the class is insane, and Ret Warrior is probably the best ladder comp in the game currently. Even if I'm not a fan of Ret currently, the class is still super fun to play with crazy amounts of damage you can deal. And that's it. Those are the 5 best classes you should play in 9.1.5. Unless they're hit with extreme nerfs, they should be pretty good throughout the entire expansion, and you should have a ton of success playing with them. Now, if you stuck around for the entire video, thank you so much. Like, subscribe if you wanna. Also, I try to stream 3 to 5 times a week. You can either check me out just on YouTube or my Twitch channel. The link will be down below. But once again, thanks for watching. Peace.